Hi everyone, Miss Cox here, and this week our maths is going to be focusing on measure. We're going to be measuring things. You're going to be finding out all about how we measure. You're going to be making your very own measuring device. It's going to be loads of fun. So what I'm going to do is, like every week, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk through our activities today. So we're going to carry on with number formation at the beginning of each lesson. And this week, we're going to focus on two new numbers. Last week, we did 3 and 5. This week, we're going to do 7 and 9. So we've got a brand new rhyme to have a think about today. So this one is, across the sky flies a heron, down to earth that makes a 7. Okay, well, I might have to do it the other way. So across the sky flies a heron, down to earth that makes a 7. So pause me, have a little go at practicing your 7s, and then join me for the next activity. Okay, well done for writing those number 7s. I'm sure they look amazing. Now, our recap. So last week we did lots of number recap. So we thought it's been a few weeks since you did shape. So we thought we'd recap shapes. And what I've got here is a little page of shapes. And I want you to pause me and I want you to talk to your grown-ups and see how many shapes do you recognise and remember. So these are 2D shapes, flat shapes. So what shapes do you remember? And if you do remember these shapes, fantastic. Can you describe their properties? And what I mean is, how many sides do they have? How many corners or vertices do they have? Okay, so pause me and maybe you can make it a game. So you could give yourself a 1-minute timer or 2-minute timer to name as many of the shapes as you can and then describe their properties. So have a go at that game and join me for measure. Okay, well done. I'm sure you remembered lots of your shapes. Or if we just go back, just to recap. So we've got a lovely square, we've got a triangle, we've got a rectangle. Oh, we've got another rectangle here, although it's a bit smaller, isn't it? Oh, smaller. We might come back to that. We've got a larger rectangle here. We've got, two squares, which look like they're the same size. Oh, do you remember last week with fractions, we had equal sizes, didn't we? Equal amounts. So there we go. Oh, circles. We've got one there and one here, but different colours. And then, oh, look, that's interesting. I think that's a triangle, but do you know how I can check? Because I know that triangles have 3 sides. So let's just check because this triangle looks different to the one up here. So this green triangle, let's check. So 1, 2, 3. Yes, it's got 3 sides. And has it got 3 vertices? 1, 2, 3. So it must be a triangle because this triangle has got 3 sides and 3 vertices. Isn't it amazing how different triangles can look? They can look very different, can't they? Okay, let's move on. So this week we are going to be measuring height and length. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you some words of the week. Now look at all these words, there's loads of them, but don't worry, we're not expecting you to spell them. We're just expecting you to use them when you're talking about measuring. Okay, so these are words that when you talk to your grown-ups, these are the words that you'll use. Don't worry, don't panic. We're not asking you to spell these or write these down. We might give you a few tasks to do that, but these are just some words that we can learn when we're speaking about measuring height and length. So let's go through them. So we've got, the same. So we did a bit of that last week talking about equal amounts, the same. Longer, taller. Actually, you could be my echo, couldn't you? Do you remember we've done this before? So I say it, you say it back to me. So tall, short, long, height, shorter, and length. Right, so every day we'll come back to these words of the week so we can remind you of the words that we're looking for you to be using. Okay, so what is measure? What does that mean? Have a little chat with your grown-ups. What is measure? Well, we think that measure is where we find out how long or tall or short something is. So when we're measuring in year 1, we're thinking about how long or tall or short something is. Okay, so long for length, tall and short for height when we're measuring height. Okay, so What could we measure? Now, this is where I want you to go and do a little treasure hunt, okay? I want you to do a little treasure hunt in your house. And can you find 5 things that you could measure? So remember, we've just found out that measuring is where you find out how long or how tall or short something is. Can you go on a treasure hunt? Find 5 things that you could measure. Right, off you go. Okay, now I have found things that I could measure in the classroom. So I'm just going to unshare my screen and I can show you what I could measure. Here we go. So I found, now moles will know who this person is. I found Moly Mole, okay? So I've got a Moly Mole here I could measure. I've got found a pencil that I could measure. Oh, I found my whiteboard pen I could measure. I've also found, I'm not going to show you this for too long because we might learn about this next term, but found a book. Oh, that looks like an interesting book, doesn't it? Okay. Oh, I found a little lid. I think Spog's been a bit naughty in my class. I think he might be eating some chocolates because that looks like a lid from a tube of chocolates. So lid. And of course, look, I've got my Riesling rabbit ears, so I could measure those. So those are the things that I found. I wonder what you found on your treasure hunt in your house. I'm sure you found some really interesting things to measure. And also down here, I've just got some things that you could have found. So maybe you found some of these things, maybe a teddy or some utensils like a spoon or a hairbrush or a pencil or a shoe or a paper clip, because things can be small or large, can't they? So you might have found little things, you might have found large things. So here we go. Let's move on. So what I want to talk to you today about is whether when you're measuring, okay, remember a measure is where we work out how long or tall or short something is in year 1. Whether we're going to measure whether how tall something is or how long something is, how do we decide that? How do we decide that? So I'm just going to talk about that very quickly. So I'm going to stop sharing so you can see me a bit larger so you can see what I'm talking about. So for example, if I wanted to measure this pencil, Now I could either measure how tall it is or how long it is. When you measure something tall, it means you're measuring the vertical. So you're measuring something, you're measuring its height, okay? So it's normally like this, it's vertical. If you're measuring a length, it's normally horizontal, which is that way. Vertical, horizontal, okay? Now, so with my pencil, if I tried to measure the height of my pencil, so I'm going to let go of my pencil, see if it can stand tall, see if I can measure it. Oh no, what happened to my pencil? Let's try that again. Right, so I'm going to see if I could make it stand tall so I could measure it. Oh, that's not going to work, is it? Okay, so let me see, would it be better? Can I measure the length? Can I hold my pencil? Will it stay like that? If I put that on a table, would that stay like that? I think it would. So with my pencil, I'm probably going to find out how long my pencil is rather than how tall it is, because I can't get it to stand up, okay? But if I take my Moly Mole here, now my Moly Mole, he can sit up, okay? And if you look, I've got him on my table. There you go, if I just move the screen, look, he's sat up, no hands, okay, I'm not touching him. He sat up all by himself. So I could measure Moly Mole's height because he can sit by himself, and actually I can measure his height. Maybe I could even measure how long he is across here. I could measure how long, maybe I could do both, okay? So Moly Mole, I could definitely do his height and maybe his length as well, okay? Still on my pen. Okay, look, there's my pen. If I wanted to measure my pen, what am I going to do? I'm going to try the standing up again. Let's see. Oh, I've tried. Let's have a look. See if you can see on my table. Look, if I can. So I can stand my pen up. So if I was very careful, I might be able to measure the height of my pen because it's vertical, isn't it? It's standing up. And I'm probably going to be able to measure the length as well because I can lay that down. Okay, so some things it works better for measuring height. Some things it works better measuring length. Some things you can do both. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. So that's what we mean by when you're deciding whether to measure height or length. All right. So have a go with your objects now. The objects you found on your treasure hunt. Have a think. Could you measure how tall they are? Okay. Or how long? What would be best? Okay, would it be best to measure how tall your objects are or how long they are? Have a little chat with your grown-ups and have a think about that. Okay, right, moving on. We're going to have a think about just what we talked about, really. So whether you could measure the height of something, okay, or the length of something, or both. So I've just got some objects here, okay. Oh, I've got biscuits. I love biscuits, okay, love yummy things. So how would we measure these objects? So let's have a chat about that. Okay, so I've got 3 objects here. I've got a pencil, I've got a teddy bear, and I've got a packet of biscuits. So have a little think with your grown-ups. Do you think that I could measure the height of my teddy or the length of my teddy or both? Or with my pencil, do you think it's better if I just measure length or height or both? And with my packet of biscuits, could I stand my packet of biscuits up to find out how tall my packet of biscuits are? And can I lay my packet of biscuits down to find out length? Have a think together and then we'll go through that. Okay, so let's go through these then. So our teddy bear, it's a bit like my Moly Mole here, okay? It looks like this teddy can be sat up. So I think you could probably measure this teddy's height, how tall the teddy is. And now because he's sitting quite nicely, I think we could probably measure how long he is as well. So I think we could probably measure both there. That's what I think. But you might disagree. You might think only height, okay? So let's move on. Let's have a look at our pencil. Now, I showed you what happened to my pencil when I tried to stand it up tall so I could do the height. And it wasn't really working. So I think my pencil is better to measure its length. Okay, so I'm going to pop that there. And my rich tea biscuits, now my biscuits. Now, if I had a full packet of biscuits that hadn't been opened, okay, I think, well, maybe even if it had been opened, I think I could probably stand it on its end so that it stands tall. I probably could measure the height of my packet. I could find out how many my children have eaten. Cheeky boys, they might have eaten lots and lots of biscuits, and I could find out how many by measuring the packet. But I could also lay this packet down and measure its length. I think that's probably both. Okay, so that's what I feel. You might disagree with me. You and your grown-ups might disagree with me, and that's okay, because we're having a conversation about how long, how short, how tall, okay, something is. So let's move on.